This is a video containing the 3 videos I did on the Disney Channel Animated Series, Amphibia. Season 1 was made in 2022, and Seasons 2 and 3 were made in 2023. But to make things more watchable for a compilation video, I edited a few things that felt weird in the original versions, added music to the background, and added a new ending monologue that fit better. With all of that out of the way, I hope you enjoy these videos. Growing up is a hard thing to deal with, and is something I have been dealing with for a while now. Fresh out of high school and heading out into what my teachers would call the real world. You begin to experience all the world has to offer, both the good and the bad. Have to start dealing with so much change, and without any warning are left to negative, the complexities of social interaction and all of its unwritten rules. While the media we watch as kids tries to prepare us for the next stage of life, many barely scratch the surface or refuse to discuss the more unpleasant aspects of the topic. Then came along in mid-2019 a show that would refuse to shy away from the ugly side of growing up, an animated series that would go in depth to discuss manipulation, trauma, guilt, relationships, betrayal, and perhaps, most importantly, discovering who you are and learning to accept yourself. This is the little show we in the business call Amphibia. Amphibia is a show that has stuck with me since the beginning. I didn't have cable, but ever since the first episode was released for free on YouTube, and when I got Disney Plus and Disney Now, did I finally get to see all the magic I missed and the magic I was going to watch. I wanted to wait till at least the ending so that I can make a video on this cartoon I love so much, but at the time I'm writing the rest of this, the final season comes out on Disney Plus on June 22nd, 2022. Which means that by the time of releasing this video, the entire series is available to watch on Disney Plus. Ever since the show ended, I had come to terms that the show was over and that this might be the final time we see these characters. I decided in June I would start making this retrospective on Amphibia as a way of coping with the loss of the show by showing it all to you guys. So let's begin with the making of Amphibia. Amphibia is the story of Anne Boon Choi, a 13-year-old Thai-American girl who on her 13th birthday is peer pressured by her 2 best friends into stealing a music box. When she opens it, she is magically transported to another world populated by talking anthropomorphic frogs, giant birds, and killer insects. She finds a second home in the valley town of Wartwood with a family called the Planters, which includes the mischievous and musical gifted eldest child, Sprig, his valiant and intense little sister, Polly, and his strict but caring grandfather, Habadiah, or Hop Pop for short. From then on, the show is about Anne bonding with her new family, finding her place in the community, and trying to learn more about the music box in hopes of finding a way to return home. The series was the creation of Matt Brawler, who was previously a director, writer, and/or storyboard artist on shows like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and Big City Greens. Matt began to work on his own concept for an animated series while production on Gravity Falls was wrapping up. He wanted to create a show that would be inspired by the trips he'd take to Bangkok, Thailand during summers as a child. The reason Matt chose frogs was because he knew from the beginning that his series was going to be about change, so what better type of creature to represent that than one to go through many physical changes throughout their entire life. I think this is a pretty cool idea. Perhaps the weirdest inspiration behind the show was Matt's time working on Gravity Falls, as he found himself being drawn to the character of Pacifica Northwest. Matt loved this idea of this character, who would progress over the show and grow into a completely different person. It was a shame they forgot about Pacifica's development during the finale, but that's probably for another time. So after continuing to develop the concept, Matt created a pitch pilot to show the executives, and soon Disney had given the green light to Amphibiland? Yeah, it's clear that some changes would have to be made. As well, the pitch contains a lot of the DNA of the final show. Some things would need to be ironed out, starting with the age of the main characters. As originally, Matt wanted the trio of girls to be 15 years old, but after some forceful nudging by the executives, he aged them down to 13, because that was closer to their target demographic, because Disney knows better than anyone that kids are physically incapable of relating to make characters that are even just slightly older than them. On February 19th, 2018, Disney officially announced Amphibia to the world just over a year later, and the hype would finally start to build up with the announcement of the voice cast, and would be played by none other than Brenda Song, marking her return to the Disney Channel after being one of its biggest stars during her childhood. Sprig would be played by Justin Felbringer, who had worked on a few Disney Junior shows. Polly's voice was Amanda Layton, and perhaps most exciting was that Hop Pop was going to be played by Disney legend Bill Farmer, aka Goofy. But that would only be the beginning of this show's amazing voice talent. The ambient and whimsical background score was set to be composed by T.J. Hill, who, surprise, also did the music for Gravity Falls. Naturally, there was conflict at Disney's request. Celissa Gray Westbrook had performed a theme song for the show titled Welcome to Amphibia, which, while Matt did think was a good song, it didn't fit with the tone and vibe of the series. Eventually, Matt was able to talk down the studio from this choice, and thus we have the iconic instrumental intro we all know and love. So after all that, Amphibia finally premiered on June 17th, 2019. We open on a foggy night as a frog leaves the local diner where he sees a beast of all things.
No!
The next day, a family arrives in town as we learn that they are Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop. Sprig is annoyed that his little sister has been left in charge because Hop Pop doesn't see him as responsible.
Ridiculous. What makes you think I'm irresponsible?
Oh, gee, let me think.
Oops.
Frig, what did I tell you about leaving the lights on?
Okay, so yesterday was a bad day.
The same frog from the beginning of this episode runs in screaming bloody murder that he's seen a monster in the woods. He describes the creature to the townsfolk as the head of the village. Mayor Toadstool decides they must catch it as the town agrees that would be the responsible thing to do. Sprig overhears this and decides he is going to find the beast by himself to prove that to Hop Pop that he's responsible. After bribing his sister, Sprig heads off into the unknown, only to immediately get caught in the trap.
Got ya! Thought you got the best of all land, eh? Well, you didn't.
Giant head, Bentley limbs, face bump. The beast!
Stop following me.
After the two get acquainted, something begins to approach from the bushes. It tries to flee only to go back and rescue Sprig. The duo hide inside a log from a giant praying mantis, as Sprig understands the lacking stranger isn't a monster. Meanwhile, Hop Pop finds out Sprig has ran off, so he and the town head out into the woods so they can hunt the beast. Sprig and Anne quickly become fast friends, while Anne tells Sprig that she's from
another world! Either that or this is a dream.
The town's frogs find the pair and ties Anne just when things can't get any worse. They are attacked by the same mantis from earlier, while the others are distracted. Sprig ties Anne and tells her to run.
What is this, another trick?
I'll distract that thing. You get out of here. Hey! Ha-ha! Oops.
Do something!
Anne and Sprig defeat the mantis, but the other frogs still want to run and out of town until Sprig comes to her defense. Hop Up agrees to take Anne in, but the rest of the town isn't jazzed about the idea.
Looks like I'm back to causing trouble for the family again, huh?
Trouble? Sprig, standing up to that angry mob to help this creature out was some of the bravest and most responsible stuff I've ever seen.
That was pretty cool, Sprig. It was also really dumb.
Yes, really, really dumb.
Anne wants to leave and hopefully finds a way home, only to be told the valley is surrounded by dangerous mountains and she won't be able to make it through safely until it clears up in about 2 months. So Anne is now living in the planter's basement as Sprig bides her goodnight.
Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Seriously, they can drain a body in seconds.
Ooh.
Looks like I'm gonna be here for a while.
First impressions of a new series usually aren't the best. Often nothing is set in stone, as you're essentially watching the creators try to figure out what the show is in real time. The characters aren't fully defined yet, the voice actors haven't settled into their roles, and everything just feels off. I want to say Amphibia is immune from this, but has a strong identity and sense of what it wants to be. A wholesome yet dark comedy about a girl getting trapped in a mysterious world populated by talking frogs and giant killer bugs. I think it's cool how the show starts off with the frogs mainly on Sprig, as Anne is introduced a little later on in this episode, creating this layer of mystery surrounding how she ends up here, even though the opening theme spoils it. If there are two things this pilot nails, it's the humor and the friendship between Anne and Sprig, which does feel believable as the two have great chemistry with each other overall. It provided a solid foundation, but there was clearly a lot of room to grow good. Thing is, we have 19 episodes just to do that. Season 1 is admittedly slow. I would say it's not bad at all, but this is the season with the least amount of plot. But I wouldn't say you should skip it, since there are lore dumps in Season 1, but they aren't as common as a lore dump in, say, Season 2 or 3. Now, we know that in the opening of the show that there are two other girls who probably got transported to Amphibia, and what do we learn in Season 1 Episode 1b? Now, the first half of Season 1 focuses mostly on continuing to define its main cast by exploring the relationships within the Planter clan, and most importantly, the new addition. On top of episodes that involve the entire main cast, each Planter gets their own solo story, where they get to bond with Anne as she quickly grows to care for her new weird frog family. While you could tell the show was still finding its footing, most of these episodes do a great job on delivering great comedy, solid action, and a wealth of character building. Diving into these dynamics this early on was crucial in making Anne feel like part of the family, which is the core of the show, and allows Anne to become a lot more likable as the season progresses. In exploring Anne naturally, the show would often find itself touching on her Thai heritage. That was the initial inspiration for the series, after all. But Anne being Thai isn't a minor detail of her character, it's an important part of her identity that would only gain more prominence as the series went on. It was important to Matt Bradley that Thai American kids would get to see themselves represented. Letting people, especially kids, see themselves represented in the media they watch is always a good thing. Anne's Thai heritage happens to be the focus of one of my favorite episodes in Season 1, Episode 9A, Lily Pad Thai. In the episode, Anne bets a local food critic that she could turn around a struggling restaurant in 2 days, her confidence stemming from the fact her parents own a restaurant back home. Though the owner, Stumpy, is initially very pessimistic, he soon comes around to Anne's radical ideas about hygiene and flavor, turning the place into a frog Thai fusion restaurant. By this point in the show, the residents of Wartwood are still hesitant towards Anne, yet despite that are still very open and accepting about her sharing her culture with them. It shows that the town's frogs aren't all closed-minded and are willing to learn and try new things, making them more dynamic characters.
I'll take the maggot larb. Did I say that right? Larb?
It's actually pronounced lab.
Well, how about that? 1 foot in the grave and still learning new things.
You see, following the first episode, Anne didn't really interact with the rest of the town too much, but whenever she does, it's clearly shown to us how she is not welcomed by this community. Then we arrive at the midway point of Season 1, Episode 10A, Toad Tax. A trio of toads arrives in Wartwood to collect unpaid taxes from the residents. Anne is invited to join them and agrees, believing this will help her gain the town's respect. But soon she learns how wrong this situation is as the toads begin repossessing everything the frogs own, despite them saying that they did pay their taxes. Once Anne sees this, she begins secretly taking stuff to give back to the frogs. Things reach a boiling point when the toads arrive at the planter's house and Anne has to take a stand, drawing a crowd in the process.
What did she just say?
All I wanted was this town's respect. But just because these people treated me crummy doesn't mean I'm gonna do the same to them. I'm done with this. I don't care if they've broken the law. You can't treat people like this!
While trying to fight the toads, Anne is badly injured, but just when it all seems to be over, when...
All right, alone.
She's one of us!
If you got a problem a problem with all of us.
Sprig turns up as well. All this has been going on. He's discovered that Mayor Toadstool stole the taxes and hid them in his new statue. The Toads ride off but say that soon they'll come back for Anne and they won't be alone from this point on.
So are we gonna tell the captain about that creature we found?
Oh, we're gonna tell the captain everything.
Everything is different as the show is no longer about the struggling to survive in the hostile world. Now it's about figuring out where she fits in this community that she has become a valued member of, as the show slightly shifts from stories about pre-existing relationships within the family to Anne forming new relationships with the other residents of Wartwood as a direct result of this. Anne starts discovering new things about herself and slowly starts to come into her own. How about we take a quick break from the story to discuss the humor of Amphibia? The comedy of Amphibia is dark, even by modern cartoon standards.
Frogs died here.
Aww.
A frog can really hear themselves think out here. Did you leave the stove on? The front door unlocked? Will you die alone? Well, that was a mistake.
Aww.
Really glad I didn't push you off a cliff like I was planning.
Me too, Polly. Me too.
Fair enough, Anne. How do we bring this thing back to life? Magic? Live sacrifice? I know a guy in town.
Okay, back up. You're the wrecker, Hop Pop? How many games have you beaten? Did it ever get dangerous, Hop Pop? Have you killed a man, Hop Pop?
Like, this shit is something I expect from Gravity's Falls, but no, it's in this cartoon about talking frogs from another world, and it just works. Amphibia is one of the funniest cartoons ever made for television. I wouldn't say it's up there with Smiling Friends, but something like seasons 1 and 2, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Anyway, enough ha-has, back to the plot. So, I forgot to mention that at the end of season 1, episode 7b, Anne vs. Wild, you know, the one about camping.
We bunk here for the night, and in the morning, if we're still alive, I'll take you all out for pancakes.
Oh, that sounds
I
great.
do like pancakes.
Has Anne telling her family about the music box and asking if they know anything about it, but Hop Pop says he's never heard of anything like it before turning it in for the night.
It's just as I feared.
This is followed up on later in the season 1 episode 16b, Bazaar Bazaar, where Anne and Sprig sneak out to the annual night market to try and get answers about the music box. They find someone who knows something, but then it almost loses the music box. Thankfully, Hop Pop comes to the rescue as Anne makes the responsible decision to give Hop Pop the music box. From that point on, and what does he immediately do with it?
Sorry, Anne, but I can't have you showing this thing around. Too dangerous for all of us. Now it's where it belongs, where no one can find it.
We were absolutely feral after this ending, as not only did it create the sense of danger around the box, but even brought Hop Pop's true intentions into question. One thing was for sure, that box was now a ticking time bomb. As soon as it got unearthed, nothing in this family would ever be the same again. In season 1, episode 18b, Combat Camp, while Hop Pop goes away for the weekend, he leaves the kids at a daycare.
Wish it was, Anne, but you kids need supervision. Why, sometimes it feels like we have at least 2 wacky adventures a week.
Once Hop Pop is gone, the teacher called Frantonio, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm just gonna call him Frantonio, reveals that this isn't a daycare, but a combat crash course for kids. While he has nothing but consistent praise for Sprig and Polly, he is hypercritical of Anne and everything she does. Eventually, they have a sweet moment where Frantonio tells her that he pushes her because he doesn't think she's living up to her true potential, thus making Anne question her relationship with her teachers back home.
If I seem tougher on you, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I see a girl who is not living up to her full potential.
Really?
Indeed. In you, I sense someone that, with a little effort, could achieve greatness. And I am sure your teachers back home felt the same way.
In the final tran, Traitania says he's rented a train in quotations.
I have rented a train, inside of which I have hidden a fake priceless ruby. Also, I have hired actors to portray guards who will stop at nothing to keep the ruby safe.
So the kids succeeded pretending, but not really, to rob the train, only for their teacher to betray them. Anne is able to defeat him in combat and save the day. Now having a sword and knowing how to fight, which is going to be extremely important later in the season. Before we talk about the finale, I want to bring up favorite episodes of the season in my opinion. Hop Luck is a standout because of the comedy values alone, with this scene being accurate to the real world.
Oh, maybe we should put pineapple on it. Seems like a natural fit.
Don't you dare talk about pineapple on my pizza. Ever.
The domino effect for being super cute, then sad at the end, like Jesus. F Theft Auto.
I don't feel safe.
For obvious reasons. Lily Pad Thai for reasons I just mentioned at the beginning of the episode section. Snow Day for being a fun romp of moments. And Curse because Maddie be cool and the action and comedy were on point. Now, on with the finale. This run of episodes starts to wrap up with Season 1, Episode 19B, Anne of the Year. A story that serves as an almost victory lap for the first season, just before things really start to hit the fan. Every year, the town votes for their resident they believe best embodies the value of Wartwood, and it just so happens this year, they've nominated Anne.
Come on, Ann, get up there! A planter frog of the year. I'm so proud. Yeah.
One of Anne's responsibilities is to host a party for the town, but she quickly goes overboard trying to make everything perfect so that she can prove she deserves to be Frog of the Year. Things soon fall apart as Anne comes to her senses, recruiting Mayor Toadstool to help her save the town. When the dust settles, Anne says she doesn't deserve this honor and wonders why anyone voted for her.
Anne, we didn't vote for you because you're flawless. Far from it. We voted for you because of how far you've come. You've grown so much in your time here, and this town just wouldn't be the same without you.
So Anne throws the party she should have in the first place. Sprigs crush Ivy, Sundew asks him out, and everything seems happy. Just then, Toadie met Toadstool's assistant, approaches Anne and tells us someone is waiting for her at the bridge. I have been avoiding this for the entire video because this is important to me. This was the thing that grabbed me about Amphibia. Its portrayal of toxic relationships, which isn't something obviously explored in all ages, shows, and even when it is never this blunt and brutally honest.
Look, if a friend likes a pencil case, you get it for them. If your friend likes your new shoes, you give them to her. And if a friend wants you to steal a crazy music box from a thrift store, even if you really don't want to, you do it, okay? Because if you don't, they might not want to be your friend anymore.
Anne has this warped view on what friendship is because her friends back home were consistently manipulating and peer pressuring her. Because of this, Anne feels lost without them since she doesn't have anyone telling her what to do. That's why Season 1 is about Anne bettering herself as a person and figuring out who she is, because until now, she's never had the chance to think for herself or make her own choices, or as Wally puts it, in the way I see it.
And the way I see it, you've got a great opportunity in front of you. Whole new world, new people, free to be whatever you want.
That's kinda genius, Wally.
This is why I was hooked on this show. I was so happy to see a series teaching kids about these relationships in hopes that they'll be able to see the warning signs. I certainly wish that more shows taught this to younger viewers. Episode 1B ends with a scene taking place at Toad Tower, where it's revealed that Sasha has been taken prisoner. Her story wasn't be revisited until Season 1, Episode 10B, Prison Break, which also happens to be the sister episode to Toad Tax. It takes place far away from Wartwood, as the leader of the Toads, Captain Grime, struggles to command his pitiful excuse for an army.
So, these are the Valley's strongest warriors. Pathetic! Wait, hold on.
is this guy seriously wearing his breastplate as pants?
It won't happen again, sir.
Here we are finally fully introduced to Sasha, as we learn she's been busy manipulating the toads, as she's just convinced her fifth one to leave the tower this week when they're attacked by giant carnivorous birds called herons. Grime is impressed by Sasha's fighting skills. As they begin to work together, Sasha decides to help Grime with his leadership, suggesting he try saying nice things to his soldiers.
Just try saying nice things for a change. Get them to love you, and they'll do anything for you.
That actually works.
Oh, it works all right.
The army is now motivated and begins fighting the heroines back. Once the day is won, Grime makes Sasha his second in command. He says once the tower is rebuilt, they'll march along the valley and find her friends.
Now, how does that sound?
I think I can live with that.
Then come, Lieutenant. We have much to discuss.
Captain Grime, sir. Bog has just returned from Wartwood and is waiting for you in the briefing room.
Hold on for a little longer, girls. I'm coming for you. And when I find you, we're gonna get home. But first, I think we're gonna have some fun with this place.
It's safe to say that Sasha's introduction lived up to our expectations, presenting us with a master manipulator who uses others to get what she wants, while they also made sure to show that she does care for her friends. There's still this ever-present darkness surrounding her that's impossible to ignore, and we wouldn't see her again until the ending of Anne of the Year.
We? Yep, just me and some friends of mine.
Nice to finally meet you, Anne Boonchoy.
Thus, we arrive at the season finale, episode 20, Reunion. The episode that changed everything and left us all in utter disarray. After a flashback showing the day the girls got transported, where we see how much control over Anne Sasha really has, we return to present day as Grime invites Wartwood to a banquet to celebrate Anne and Sasha's reunion, but it turns out they've actually been brought there because the Toads are going to execute Hop Pop. Yeah, over season 1, Hop Pop accidentally started a rebellion in the valley by standing up to the tax collectors in an episode I didn't talk about where he ran against Toadstool for mayor, and steps up to defend him as we seem to be entering an all-out brawl. But then Sasha gets the Toads to step down and once again starts to effortlessly manipulate Anne, and it seems about to work until Sprig steps in.
For someone who's Anne's best friend, you sure don't know her very well. She's brave, she's smart, and most of all, she's not gonna be pushed around by a bully like you!
Sasha tries to kill Sprig right then and there, only for Anne to block her sword.
Anne, what are you doing? Something I should have done a long time ago. Standing up to you!
The two of them engage in an intense battle, but with a good old-fashioned power of friendship boost, and disarms Sasha, who gets a cut on her face in the process. Thanks to Wally planting some boom shrooms earlier, the tower explodes and grabs Sasha's hand as somebody to lean on starts playing in the background. Because of that, I can't play too much audio from this scene, and we get a slip as the planners come to her aid. But it becomes clear that soon the whole thing is going to collapse and take everyone with it, so...
Hey, Anne. Maybe you're better off without me.
No!
Before Sasha can plummet to her doom, Grime catches her. Meanwhile, Mayor Toadstool, who throughout the final season 1 episodes has been going through a pseudo-redemption arc, saves some Wartwood residents from falling debris, and watches Grime carry Sasha away, leaving the current state of their friendship unknown.
Anne, are you okay?
Oh yeah, never felt
They all make it back to what would and are left to process everything that just happened. However, it's now been 2 months and the mountains are clear, so the planners begin preparing themselves for the journey outside the valley to find a way to get on home.
It's gonna be dangerous, perilous even.
Understatement.
Well, whatever happens next, one thing's for sure. If we're together, I know we'll be all right.
Hugging it a little tight there, Anne.
No, I'm not.
The premiere date of Season 2 was announced on June 23, 2020, alongside an early renewal for Season 3. Included in the press release was an insane amount of guest stars including Jennifer Lewis, George Takei, Susan Egan, Christian Sol, Keith David, and Kermit the Frog.
I go for William!
They were pulling out all the stops for the second outing. Then, on the 7th of July, a mere few days away from the season premiere, we were gifted a 2-minute trailer showing exactly what to expect from Part 2. The family were heading out on the road towards the capital of Amphibia, Newtopia, and the journey would be filled with new faces and danger at every turn. After the long, agonizing wait for Season 2, it would finally premiere on July 11th, 2020.
Spring is finally here.
All right, Sprig. New season, new possibilities. I'm ready to blossom into my best self.
In the first episode, we see that Anne is still coping since her fight with Sasha in Reunion. Hop Hop comes home with a family wagon he calls the Fwagon.
The previous owners died in it.
Hop Hop plans to use the wagon
Not calling it that.
to head to Newtopia to see if they can find Anne a way home. Anne is also hoping that on the way they can find her other friend Marcy. While they are gone, Hop Hop hired a frog named Chuck to take care of the farm cause he says a farm left empty is vulnerable is dangerous.
Left alone to face wildfires, locusts, tornadoes, flaming locust tornadoes. Anyway, here you go.
Anne feels bad that her new family is risking everything to help her, and when she sees Chuck...
Chuck!
Actually, I'm Dave. That's Chuck.
I grow tulips.
She doesn't have high hopes for him, so she goes out to find a way to protect the house. Thanks to Loggle, she grabs everything she needs and the gunk that will awaken the crops of power. A power some would say is left.
I'll take it.
Wait, really? Don't you want to hear the rest of my cryptic warning?
Nope.
Works for me.
So when Anne is reading the house, she ignores an important label and spills the gunk all over the crops, which turns them into monsters. When the planners think they've won, the veggie monsters turn into one giant monster and destroy the house. Anne cries because the monster is destroying everything she worked so hard to protect.
Oh, you just made a big mistake, buddy.
Anne destroys the monster and admits that she awoken the thing so that she could try to protect the house. Since the planners are giving up almost everything to help her, the planners say they have Anne's back no matter what. They bring back Chuck who fixes the house and they start to live. But before they leave, Anne asks if they should bring the music box.
No. It'll be safe with my contacts for the time being.
All right, HP. I trust your judgment.
Well, let's get this wagon on the road. No turning back now.
Did we give the key to Chuck?
We're turning back now.
Season 2 takes a very different approach to storytelling than Season 1, in that everything is more focused and a lot more streamlined, with every 4 or 5 episodes following their own mini story arc, which also means this season is going to be a heck of a lot easier to talk about than the previous one, as we won't be hopping all over the place and can pretty much just talk about everything in chronological order. The first 5 episodes of the season are made up of mostly self-contained stories. The main difference being from this point on, the planners are given much more focus, which gives the show more of an ensemble feel rather than everyone just being supporting players in Anne's narrative. We start delving more into each of the frogs and what makes them tick. Hop Pop attempts to fake his way into being a town hero and finds his dreams of performing, and all they're cracked up to be when he learns the company he's working with are robbing towns blind during the performances. Polly has to adjust to being so far from home, then she and Sprig have to learn how to get along by navigating a deadly trail. There's this sort of spontaneity with Season 2 storytelling, as each episode delivers a completely different experience with new locations and characters. Many of the planners get straight into the wilderness or stumble across some ancient ruins or have a random crossover with Gravity Falls. Yeah, that actually happens and it's awesome.
Say, Mr. Pons, do you ever get the feeling that we exist simultaneously in multiple parallel universes, completely unaware of the other's very existence?
You been licking yourself again, Frog Seuss? Got me again, Mr. Pons.
It's a far cry from Season 1 with its limited setting and enjoyability, but familiar stories, although if you find yourself missing the Wartwood residents, one or two of them end up popping up on the journey here and there. From the beginning, Season 2 strikes you as being a lot more mature than the previous one. Season 2 seems a lot more trusting of its audience and doesn't shy away from what the characters are going through. There isn't a massive tone shift, as there is still a constant and steady stream of jokes about death, but you can also sense that the characters are taking everything more serious as they are now, working towards something. This added layer of maturity also knows we can start to dig into the lore of this world and its history, and they don't waste any time getting to it, as by the second segment of the season, they're already dropping huge bombshells on us, like the fact long ago, Amphibia had steampunk-esque technology in the B episode of the season premiere. The players discovered some ruins, which turns out to be an ancient factory that then attacks them in the end. They cause the whole thing to explode, the family sets off again, as we see a robot emerge from the rubble and start going after them. From that point on until we reach Newtopia several episodes later, this would feature a quick scene at the very end showing this robot as it followed the family. No one knew what its deal was or why it was following the planners. Was it trying to hunt them down, or was there something else though? We could clearly see it had a few scenes loose screws, likely a malfunctioning error due to, this was one of the big mysteries of season 2, and for the longest time we really didn't know what to think of it, which is especially funny in hindsight. Remember how I said Anne was coping with the happening in the end of Reunion? Now it's Sasha's turn in episode 4A, Toadcatcher. In the episode, we're introduced to one of the best characters in the entire show.
My name is General Unan, Scourge of the Sand Wars, Defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, and the youngest Newt to ever achieve the rank of General in the Great Newtopian Army.
She's on the hunt for Grime, as he's been branded a traitor by Newtopia. Not helping is that since the events of Reunion, Grime has let himself go, while Sasha has been focused on nothing but training. And while they're on the run, Grime gives her a much needed reality check.
Oh, please! You're not upset because you lost the fight! You're upset because you lost your friend! You're upset that Anne stood up to you, and that things between you will never be the same again.
After an epic fight scene, Sasha and Grime use Unan's own ego to defeat her, shoving her off a cliff. Now that he's back in the game, Grime decides instead of retaking the valley, they're going to go higher, building an army to storm Newtopia and becoming the new rulers of Amphibia.
Looks like I've got my own path now, Anne, but it's not over between us. Not even close.
Season 1 left Sasha in a very uncertain place. Toadcatcher saw her double down, kind of cementing how much I really didn't like her. There was still some room for her to change and better herself, but that would only happen with a lot of self-reflection that at this point she was completely unwilling to do. But while one of Anne's friends was only digging a deeper hole for herself, there's another that we still haven't seen yet, Marcy Wu. She's barely gotten a few mentions in Season 1 and was very much another one of Season 2's big mysteries. Was she just as bad as Sasha? I mean, she is the one who found the music box and seemingly had no issues with Anne stealing it. No one had any idea who she'd be or what effect she'd have on the series, and we wouldn't have to wait too long, as on August 15th, 2020, the 6th episode of the season aired, titled Marcy at the Gates. It's been 4 weeks since the planners left the valley, and they've almost arrived at Newtopia. However, Anne is still worried that despite being all over, they've not heard anything about Marcy. Sprig is hesitant about the mysterious third friend.
Maybe that's a good thing. Your last friend was kinda totally evil.
But Anne reassures him that she's nothing like Sasha. We also learn via flashback montage that Marcy is intelligent, but gets so fixated on things that she loses all sense of self-preservation.
One of these days she's gonna get herself killed.
Oh, don't say that!
At last, the family arrives at Newtopia. However, the gates are closed due to a pesky colony of barbarians. Before our heroes are attacked, they're saved by a cloaked figure.
That's one cool Newt.
From the second she shows up, the writers are doing everything they can to make sure the audience falls in love with Marcy, and they do a great job at it as she's one of the most popular characters in the show. She's an overexcitable nerd who loves JRPGs and the found family trope, #relatable. description that also applies to the average Amphibia enjoyer. The other planters immediately take a shine to Marcy as she impresses Hop Pop with her knowledge of farming, promises Polly that she'll be getting her legs in about 2 months. The planters and Marcy then go on an underground adventure to drive out the barbarians, so they can get into Newtopia. During this, Anne constantly tries to keep Marcy out of harm's way and not let her do anything remotely dangerous until she has to accept that her friend has changed and can take care of herself now, and so the gates of the city open as the planters enter. Later on, Anne and Marcy get some time alone as they both admit that they haven't yet been successful in finding a way home. Anne also reveals that she had found Sasha previously, but they're not currently on the best of terms. The two of them feel clueless about what the next move is, as Sasha was always the one who came up with the plans.
Maybe it's time we started making our own decisions, huh?
Yeah! I mean, it's worked out for us so far, right?
Still, they resolve that they'll figure out this together.
The pieces are starting to fall into place. It's time for the game to begin.
This ending left fans guessing as to where the show was heading. They were working towards something, and at the time, it seemed like it would be an all-out war between the frogs, newts, and toads, with each of the girls taking one side. Now, that isn't exactly how this would all play out, but it was clear there was something huge coming, and there would no doubt be plenty of betrayal in the future. With the end of Marcy at the Gates come the end of the road trip arc, as we then kicked off the Newtopia arc, where the next few episodes would see the planners exploring Newtopia, experiencing the culture, and befriending the locals, all while the show continued fleshing Marcy, as the neurodivergent coding got laid on thick with her troubles in understanding social cues and tendency to shift into hyper-focus mode on specific tasks and puzzles. Episode 7B, the planners check in, we finally get fully acquainted with my favorite character in all of Amphibia, Andreas, who, needless to say, is nowhere near what we were expecting, a running theme of this season. Andreas is a jolly old fellow who loves playing practical jokes and is full of charisma, no doubt helped out by him being voiced by the Disney legend himself, Keith David.
You must be Anne. Sup? Am I saying it right? Sup?
You got it!
When Anne shows him a picture of the music box, Andreas is taken aback when he notices the gems are discolored, as him and Marcy will have to do some research in the archives to get to the bottom of this. So he gives the planners a limitless royal credit card, and the family goes to stay in a fancy hotel. From there, the show mostly takes a break from the story to just let the characters walk around Newtopia, which, while those stories are loads of fun, they don't really require a play-by-play recap, but just because we don't have any new story developments doesn't mean the show is resting on its laurels, as episode 9B, Hoppy Maw, delivered one of the show's most emotional and beloved stories. While Hop Hop sends the kids to get souvenirs from their trip and becomes obsessed with attaining a butterfly teapot for her mother, but she has to win it in the Smashing Crash shopping cart contest, where their main opponents are a tough newt called Priscilla the Killer and her daughter Pearl. In the end, Anne and Sprig win the competition, but Anne gives her prize to Priscilla when she learns the teapot was made by her departed mother. However, Anne doesn't go away empty-handed.
Here, I'd be honored if you gave it to your mom. I'm no famous artist, but I made it myself, and it's one of a kind.
Thank you.
So once again, it's a happy ending all around, right? Well, no. Because out of nowhere, the show slaps us across the face with a heart-shattering ending. Sprig wakes up in the middle of the night to find Anne on the hotel balcony staring at her mother's gift. Sprig then asks about Anne's mom.
In the kitchen, she'd always sing these goofy Thai love songs, and man, was her singing bad. Woof, that woman was beyond tone deaf. You know, the funny thing is, right now, I would give anything just to hear her singing.
Anne is able to calm herself down and takes a seat as Sprig randomly decides to drop this bombshell on us.
Mine passed away when me and Polly were really young. You know, I've always wondered, can you miss someone you never actually knew? That's silly. I mean, of course you can't.
We have reached the mid-season finale, which kicks off with Season 2, Episode 10A, The Sleepover to End All Sleepovers. The night before their meeting with the king to discuss the music box, the planner kids rev the castle for a sleepover.
Me and Sprig's first sleepover!
Better make make it a good one. These will be formative memories.
The kids have fun, but Anne and Marcy keep reverting back to whatever Sasha would do as they've never had a sleepover without her. While exploring the off-limits castle basement, they come across an underground garden with a chained-up moss man and a torn-up portrait seeming to depict a younger Andreas with a frog and a toad, both things that would be very important later. The episode ends as Anne tells Marcy they need to find Sasha because she wants to make things right, and this is the point where the show started to worry me just a little, because I was still under the belief that the best thing would be for Anne to let Sasha go, especially since despite her absence, she still had this control over Anne and Marcy. As we saw how all their choices in this episode were based around her, and with the way Anne was acting recently, it seemed like she was dealing with a lot of blame and guilt over what happened between them, which made perfect sense for a character, but I was concerned the show might try and say they were both at fault when all Anne did was defend her family by standing up to someone who had been manipulating her for years. I simply didn't know what the series would end up doing with Sasha, and the conclusion it would reach regarding these three girls, because while it is a Disney show and friendship would of course ultimately prevail and should not be in a situation where she is required to forgive Sasha, because most if not all of the work towards reconciling would need to come from the latter's end, let's return to the fun stuff with season 2 episode 10B, A Day at the Aquarium. The family and Marcy arrive for their audience with King Andreas, who tells them that the box is a tool for interdimensional travel that his ancestors used to explore other worlds. To get it working again, the 3 gems will have to be recharged at 3 different temples. However, preparations for the quest will take some time which the planters don't have, as they have to go back home. Then Marcy makes the suggestion that Anne stayed there, as her going back to what would doesn't make sense.
But, I need to go to Wartwood to get the music box. Right, HB?
Technically, yes.
Nonsense. Once Hop Pop gets the box back, we'll just send a servant to pick it up. More efficient that way.
Now, here's where Marcy started to have me really concerned, as it gave me the impression that she was very much an ends justify the means kind of person, someone who would take the most efficient route to a goal, regardless of what moral or ethical boundaries it would cross. To me, this is the first time we truly saw the Marcy who had peer pressured Anne into stealing the music box. So the planners only have one more day together, and they decide to spend it at the aquarium.
Yeah, let's go have fun and not think about our crippling sadness.
Nice one.
But they and everyone at home were not prepared for a continuity overload, as everything they see reminds them of their past adventures and thus makes them very emotional. In a last-ditch attempt to save the day, they go to a water show, only find that they have a water snake exactly like the one that attacked Anne and Sprig back in season 1, episode 1B, Best Friends. Sprig's intensified emotional state causes him to fall into the water.
We've got to get Sprig away from that snake!
Oh, you've got nothing to fear from old Wanda. The gal's afraid of her own shadow.
Ooh, that's a relief.
Oh, no. It's the rays you should be worried about. Yeah, they love the taste of frog flesh.
The family worked together to defeat the Rays with even more callbacks, but with that, the day is over, and it's time for the family to part ways. But then, Marcy thankfully rethinks her earlier statements.
I'm sure I can handle the preparations here by myself. I'll just come pick you up on the way to the first temple.
Thanks, Marcy.
Now go, follow your heart.
So Anne runs through Newtopia and catches up with her frog family. After a heartfelt reunion, they start the journey back home. Then we get cut back to Marcy.
Always sad to see someone go, isn't it? I have a proposition for you, Marcy, and I think you'll find it very interesting.
The pieces were all falling into place, and this was only the halfway mark, not just of the season, but the show as a whole. While she did end up doing the right thing in the end, Marcy was still a little suspicious, especially with whatever proposition Andrew had for her. Once more, the fandom were left with so many questions and almost no answers to be found. However, we wouldn't be waiting too long, but after all that heavy stuff, we really needed a break, so it was a good thing that the second half of the season brings us back home to Wartwood. Here, the show takes a very back-to-basics approach of its storytelling. The main difference here is that it maintains season 2's more introspective approach, as there are episodes focused on certain town frogs that barely involve the planners at all. We get to explore Ivy's home life, do an anthology not Halloween special, checking on Mayor Toadstool, and the emotional transformation he's undertaken since the season 1 finale. And just see what's been going on in town, which was very much welcome since by this point we hadn't seen most of these characters in about a year and a half. half, and it only gets more interesting when Marcy arrives in town. These stories not only allow us to add some more depth to some of the most memorable frogs from the first season, but show how much the town has changed since the pilot because of Anne.
Just be patient, and I'm sure you'll fit in eventually. After a lengthy period of regarding you with extreme borderline paranoid suspicion, mind you.
Fair enough.
Though it isn't all relaxing side character exploration, as there was still some crucial plot stuff going on ever since the events following the Bizarre Bazaar. Fans were waiting not so patiently for the moment Anne would discover just what Hop Pop did with the music box after she entrusted him with it. What follows is a difficult and emotional situation, as you completely understand where both Anne and Hop Pop are coming from, and you just hope they can find some way to work it out. In the end, Hop Pop reveals why he panicked so much about the box in the first place.
Sprig and Polly's parents.
Years ago, while he was on a trip out of town, some heroines attacked Wartwood and killed Sprig and Polly's parents, an event which he blames himself for. This is enough for Anne to forgive him, as Hop Pop tells everyone what he found out about the music box, also known as the Calamity Box. And while it seems like everything is back to normal, it would take some time for these two to truly mend their fractured relationship. Now from here, this stretch of episodes is split between Wartwood episodes and the Three Temples arc. And I want to talk about the Temple episodes together so we just have one more thing to address. It's been a while since we checked up on the family mechanical stalker. Well, they finally make it to what would in episode 15 be Friend or Frobo. While failing to cause mischief around town, Polly stumbles across the robotic frog in the trash. As we learn, though its deal is, turns out the robot isn't evil. In fact, quite the opposite. Polly quickly takes a shine to the automatic amphibian, dubbing him Frobo. The two of them hang out as Frobo is very impressionable, copying everything Polly does, which causes plenty of destruction. Once the town discovers Frobo, they get the mob supplies out. Polly is hurt in the scuffle, which causes Frobo to go ballistic. Polly is eventually able to calm him down and takes full responsibility for the dangers. She then asks Hop Pop if they could keep her new friend, promising to be his big sister.
I'm not sure, Polly. Sure seems dangerous. I mean, can it do anything useful?
Show him, Frobo!
Welcome to the family, Mr. Frobo!
So now we have a new member of the Planner Clan. While Frobo himself is such a lovable character, it kind of reminds me of Robo from Chrono Trigger, he doesn't really have much impact on the show overall. What makes him important was how he was used as a tool to push Polly's character forward, as from this point on, she really starts to grow up further, showing just how much better Season 2 is at balancing out the family and making sure they each get substantial development. But now it's time to talk about the Temples arc, where we start building towards the season finale. The Temples are based around the principles of mind, heart, and strength, which challenges each of the girls. For the first one, Marcy must force herself to see beyond her tunnel vision and realize that her actions can harm others, as in the end she sacrifices everything to save the people she cares about, which turns out to be the real test, because yeah, every single one of these features some kind of twist. Now, the three girls are all connected to the gems of the music box, and during significant moments of the series, their eyes often glow with the colors of their respective gems, Anne being blue, Marcy being green, and Sasha being red. However, at each of these temples, once the gem has been recharged, we see the color be drained from the girls' eyes, serving their connection to if that is except for one. The second temple is focused on heart and is built on a snowy mountain, which happens to be guarded by the same new Anne and Sprig met at the Bizarre Bazaar, Valerina.
Fortunate that the music box fell into such average hands. How exactly did it come into your possession?
You know, I don't remember how we got it.
On the trek up the mountain, Anne faces trials that put how far she's come on full display, selfishly giving up her coat and running headfirst into an avalanche to save some strangers without second thought, which are both things early season 1 Anne would not have done. But because of the Valerina calls her disobedient and impulsive, meaning she isn't worthy and stands up to her, only to get transported to a little pocket dimension. The new then tries to take the music box by force, while making Anne confront all her past mistakes and by extension, the person she used to be.
You lied to the planters to get out of a day of work?
How do you know that?
But you did steal the music box, did you not?
Anne admits to stealing the box, but then has to save Valerina when she almost falls off the edge.
You were right. I did lie and steal. If that makes me unworthy, fine. Those bad choices were mine, and I'll own them. But making them taught me that it's always better to do the right thing. So that's what I did, regardless of how much I didn't want to.
We have been waiting for someone like you for such a long time.
Ballerina reveals this place is the temple and declares unworthy. They start charging the stone, but then Anne hears the screams of her friends and takes the gem before the process is complete, only for it to turn out there was no danger and the family heads back down the mountain.
Maybe Frobo can make us hot chocolate when we get back.
Yay! Yes! That sounds great.
This episode is the most important one of the Temple arc, as it touches upon a big theme of the second half of Season 2, Anne coming to terms with her past while learning to love herself and the person she becomes. One of my favorite moments in the entire series comes from episode 18B, Bessie and Michelangelo, which is mostly just a fun episode about the family's pet snail. The subplot is about Marcy enlisting Utopia's best armory to give Anne a new look. The guy called Bernardo immediately begins asking Anne who she wants to be, a question she doesn't know the answer to. They try a bunch of outfits, but none of them are the right fit. In the end, Anne decides to go with something simple and not too flashy.
I think the reason I don't want a new look is because I'm finally happy with who I see in the mirror right now. So whatever I put on, I just want to be able to see the same me looking back.
There's one more episode before we get into the final temple, as it might be a good idea to check up on what Sasha's doing right now. Episode 17B, Barrel's Warhammer, follows up on Sasha and Grum's plot to take over the world. As they're attempting to get the rest of the Toad population to join them, they're fully on board, but want someone else to lead the rebellion.
Yeah, I don't think so. We love your vision, but no Toad is going to follow the command of a fugitive and his hummus.
Humans. We're called humans.
Sasha learns Anne and Marcy are working together, a fact which enrages her. The oldest captain, called Aldo, awakens and tells them to prove themselves. They must retrieve Barrel's Warhammer.
It's the weapon of the legendary Toad Warrior, Barrel the Brave!
Barrel gave his life defending a helpless village from a terrifying beast.
Legend has it that this same beast guards his hammer to this very day.
They discover the hammer is lodged within the head of said beast. Sasha puts her friends' lives at risk, riding the beast back to the tower, but they're coming in too fast, so Sasha and Grime make one final attempt to grab the hammer.
I am not gonna fail! Not while Anne and Marcy are getting by without me!
In the end, they do gain the support of the Toads, but at a cost.
We trusted you, and you didn't care one bit about what happened to us, as long as you got what you wanted.
And I think me and Braddock are done with this. With all of it.
What? Where are you going?
And this is the first time Sasha has ever tried to consider the consequences of her actions, as she genuinely regrets what she did there, which is continued in episode 18B, The Third Temple. Following the trend of other temple episodes, opening with a flashback, this one shows how Anne and Marcy met Sasha. The family enters the Third Temple, where things are really heating up. The first challenge is to make it past these things, but they're too much for Anne to handle alone. Once they're safe, Sasha apologizes and takes responsibility for what happened at Toad Tower, but it is immediately clear how empty her words are for the final room of the temple. They have to fight a rock monster that increases the gravity until only Anne and Sasha are left standing. In the middle of the battle, the two start arguing as Sasha tries to call Anne out for not trusting her.
Well, can you blame me? Oh, why would I trust you? It wasn't just Toad Tower, Sasha. You've been pushing me around my whole life.
I know.
Now this is what we've all been waiting for, a moment of genuine reflection that allows Sasha to see all the damage she caused. It started at the end of her previous episode, but now she is finally experiencing actual character development? The parrot gets knocked down and Anne motivates Sasha to get up and finish this, which she does. Sasha repowers the gem, meaning the music box is fully charged and ready for use.
No. If we turn that thing on, who knows where we'll end up? We should bring it to King Andreas so he can tell us how to use it correctly to get home.
Outside the temple, Anne suggests that she and Sasha try to start over, which she happily agrees to. But of course, there's a twist. This is all just a ploy to get into Utopia and close to the king, even though Sasha is starting to have second thoughts. The next episode continues Sasha's arc as her and Graham are invited over by Anne, though the planets are still suspicious of her because of that and oh yeah, definitely that. And Sasha still isn't doing herself any favors.
And once we rule Amphibia, I'll get this friendship back under control.
What follows is a very awkward dinner and game night as the planners and Grime try to get along while Sasha struggles with not falling back into her old ways. When Grime's dessert turns deadly, the three girls must work together to defeat a hive of hornets, and by the end, everyone is actually getting along, which Once more brings us to the penultimate story of Season 2, Episode 19B, Battle of the Bands. Much like Anne of the Year, this was very much another lighthearted victory romp for the season, before the next episode would bring nothing but trauma and devastation, so let's talk about it. Wartwood is having a Battle of the Bands, as the girls reunite their old group, Sasha and the Sharps. Anne has written her own song about Amphibia, but Sasha takes over and starts changing everything. Anne is quick to point out how it no longer feels like her song.
That's called collaboration, Anne. This isn't collaboration. It's a hostile takeover. Why do things always have to be your way?
Sasha decides that her leaving would be what's best for everyone and ends up teaming up with Toadie, who doesn't know what to do with himself when Mayor Toadstool gives him the day off. While they're practicing Sasha's song Heartstomper, which is a genuine bop if I do say so myself, she comes to find out having someone who automatically agrees with you is kind of boring. Today is surprisingly able to help give Sasha a new perspective, saying to him there's no greater feeling than supporting someone you really care about. The battle commences as the other acts are interesting, but when Anne and Marcy go up, Sasha vents about how much better their act would have been if she was in control.
I know the feeling, but no matter how badly you want someone to succeed, you can't force it. Because sometimes being a good friend just means being there for them when they need it the most.
Anne and Marcy start the song No Big Deal, which recaps Anne's journey in Amphibia, slowly figuring out who she is, and in time coming to see the strange new world as a second home. Once more, a luminous to see just how much she has grown over the past 39 episodes. And this song is really good, I do say so myself. For the end of the song, Sasha runs in and performs a guitar solo, joining her friends for the final chorus. Grime ends up winning in the end, but then Anne has a special announcement to make.
With the box charged, we'll be heading to Newtopia tomorrow for the king to send us home. Everyone, you've all done so much for me, and I'll miss you more than you could ever know.
Oh, shucks.
The episode ends with the entire cast gathering for a group photo, and I want to take some time to pause this right now and just enjoy this moment a few seconds longer, because once we leave this moment, there is no going back.
The episode has some intense final scenes. It might be scary for younger viewers.
Just try to stop me!
The climax of the past 2 seasons opens up with yet another flashback, this time showing the day the girls took the music box, but from Marcy's perspective. It becomes clear this episode will make us reevaluate everything we thought we knew about this show and this character. Everyone arrives in Newtopia for the girls to be sent home. Just before Anne gives Andreas the music box, Grime sweeps in as he and Sasha begin their takeover, imprisoning Andreas and opening the gate for the Toad army. And that is the final straw for Anne, who says the words I had been waiting for since the first episode of the show.
I'm done listening to you. I'm done trusting you. You're a horrible person, and I am done being friends with you.
Oh, snap.
Sasha tries to send Anne home, only to discover that the music box doesn't work, so she sends everyone to the dungeon, including Lady Olivia. Oh yeah, she's a character in the show, and she will be important in Season 3, but let's not worry about that right now. They're saved by Yunnan.
I am General Yunnan.
Her name is Yunnan. She's very important, blah, blah, blah. We don't have time for this. Come on.
And are able to escape the castle, hiding out in a callback to one of the earlier episodes of the season during the Newtopia arc. Everyone feels hopeless as Anne takes charge and motivates the ragtag bunch while they carry out a plan to stop the Toad army. Sasha and Grime discover something truly disturbing as they've accidentally become the good guys in this scenario. The two see Anne and Sprig closing the gate and go to try and stop them, but Anne refuses to listen to anything Sasha has to say. This escalates into yet another sword fight between the two, but this time things are very different. Anne has fully reached her limit with Sasha and is now out for blood. Anne is able to incapacitate Sasha and finish closing the gate, while the others free Andreas. The triumphant music plays as once more the day is saved. But wait, this is only the 13-minute mark, and this episode is 24 minutes long, so what do they do now? Sasha and Grime are restrained as Anne gives Andreas the music box, but instead of sending the girls home, he decides to drop some exposition on us. The gist of things is that the music box once belonged to Andreas, but it was lost thousands of years ago, and he's been waiting for it to return.
For you see, my ancestors weren't frail explorers. They were glorious conquerors.
He puts the music box in place, and the castle starts to lift into the sky. The ancient factories from the season premiere are activated and start mass producing an army of robots that descend on the castle. As Andreas reveals, he plans to take over all worlds, starting with Earth, as everyone gets ready to fight when suddenly Marcy jumps in front of them.
Andres, this wasn't the plan. You said no one would get hurt.
I would have said anything if it meant you deliver the box to me fully charged. Hate to break it to you, kiddo, but you've been duped.
But Marmar, what's he talking about?
So, on Anne's birthday, Marcy was told by her parents that they would be moving away, and in a desperate attempt to not leave her friends, she orchestrated the whole thing to trap them in another world so they could be together forever. And even a year later, this is still hard to watch.
How could you? I've been missing my parents, my life.
But look at how much fun we've had. Look at how much you've both grown. Look at Sprig. I gave you this. I gave you everything. I just didn't want to be alone.
Despite this, everyone wants more band together to take down Andres' robot army, as True Colors from this point on becomes nothing but glorious action scenes, in between moments that shatter your entire being and leave you a shell of your former self. Andreas breaks up the fight and tries to kill Polly.
Oh, look at that! One of my robots must be defective.
He tries to crush Polly again, but wasn't accounting for a manifestation of the show's themes of change and why Matt Barley chose to make this series about talking frogs in the first place, because...
Guess who just got her leg? Oh!
My little baby's got legs!
This is weird!
Ever since the show began, one of the biggest questions was, will Polly ever get her legs? And after so many hints and build-up throughout Season 2, the answer we received was a resounding no duh. With her new appendages, Polly takes back the music box, and it seems the tide of the battle is changing, until Andreas grabs Sprig and holds him out the window, so Polly puts back the music box as Anne begs Andreas to put Sprig down.
That's the thing about friends, isn't it? The more you love them, the more it hurts when they go. Allow me to demonstrate.
Sprig falls to his death, as we're treated to a montage of Anne and Sprig's friendship. As she breaks down, her grief causes her to undergo a full transformation, as everyone looks on in shock and awe. And I feel jealous for anyone who hasn't seen this show, because you're about to witness the most awesome thing you have and will ever see. In this new power-up state, Anne changes full force at Andreas while an orchestral edition of No Big Deal plays in the background. Anne dodges each counterattack with godlike speed and precision, despite how much fun it is to watch her effortlessly knock down the giant new around. Eventually, the power runs out, causing Anne to fade. Hop Up and Polly rush to Anne's side, trying to get her up.
Anne! Sprig?
Yeah, while all this was going on, Marcy jumped out the window and called her giant bird Joe Sparrow so she could swoop down and save Sprig. And I mean, of course Sprig was fine. As hardcore as some of the fights are in this show, we are still on the Disney Channel here. I mean, they would never allow a child character to be harmed like that, especially not on screen. Anyway, Andreas tries to strike Anne when she's down, only to be distracted by Marcy activating the music box. Sasha tells Anne to get to the portal while she and Grime hold Andreas back, but Andreas makes quick work of them and then charges for the box.
Marcy, hurry! I just need to...
Now look what you've made me do.
I'm sorry for everything.
Marcy collapses, dropping the music box and transporting Anne into planters.
Oh, my frog. What is this place?
Home.
Season 3 is a season I don't see much talk about in the community, but when I do see people talk about it, I hear it normally say that it's the weakest season of the show. Now, I think this season is great, like with all the other seasons in this retrospective. It's on the same level as season 1, but there are a few problems in the second half that keep it from being up there with season 2 as one of the best seasons of television. So let's talk about season 3's background. Since this is your typical Disney Channel cartoon, it was no secret that Amphibia was only gonna be 3 seasons. Matt Barley has been open that he viewed Amphibia as a 3-part story, aka 3 seasons. So we were going into the season knowing that it would be the final time we would see these lovable characters that we have known so well for a few years. But most importantly, the end of an emotional story. While it was pretty exciting to see how this would pan out, since by this point I was a bona fide fan of the show, I was a little upset that I wouldn't be able to see Anne grow and become a better person. See the Planter family be the Planter family, aka funny. I would miss these peeps, but then on October 2nd, 2021, season 3 premiered with the first episode, The New Normal. The episode begins where season 2 left off, with Anne and the Planters now in the human realm. I mean Anne's world, as Anne wants to keep the Planters hidden from her family to ease them into the whole thing about, you know.
Oh, and I'm not gonna tell them I plan to go back and stop Andreas. Or that Andreas betrayed us. Or that Marcy did. Or that Sasha did. And not a word about my weird glowing blue powers. Wow. There's a lot going on.
So we finally get to meet Anne's parents in a scene that made me cry. It's then that the Planters reveal themselves, which was kind of a tone killer given the context, but a moment that still made me laugh. It is then that Anne explains everything that has happened while she was in Amphibia, aside from Andreas and him wanting to kind of kill her and rule the world, you know, teenage life problems. So to avoid as much risk as possible, Anne and the Planters are put on lockdown, which is kind of ironic since this episode came out when we were just getting out of a certain thing that happened, but whatever. After a few days of being in lockdown, Anne convinces her parents to take them to the supermarket and gives them all disguises. But if you know anything about Amphibia at this point, then you know that a normal day can't even be normal. Andrea sends a robot to Earth to kill Anne. This robot is far more advanced than Robo in almost every capacity. Anne and the Planters have to fight this Robo assassin in secret, eventually ending up in the freezer, where Anne once more unleashes her calamity powers. They win the battle, and her parents are none the wiser. However, the robot wasn't defeated, instead merely retreating as we see her performing some upgrades on herself. This is where the first episode ends, and where we lead into the first arc of the series. The first storyline of the season is Anne and the Planters trying to go back to Amphibia, as Anne is trying to learn and control her new powers. This narrative shares the spotlight of episodes about the Planters learning new things on Earth and getting into shenanigans, cause this is Amphibia after all. Like going to the mall, Spread becoming Spider-Man, I mean a superhero, Hop Pop becoming a star like he always wanted to be. The show takes full advantage of what the characters can do in the new setting that they are stuck in for the first half of the season, while still keeping the same tone and humor that was in the previous seasons of the show that made it become one of Disney's most praised animated series. I think it is a clever move to have the show basically have a role reversal with the Planters being new to Earth while Anne has to teach them this stuff, drawing into the fact how much more mature Anne has gotten throughout the entire series up to this point. It's constantly brought up how much she has grown, but it's also about Anne reconnecting with her home and heritage, such as in episode 4B, Temple Frogs, where the family visits the local Thai temple, during which Polly takes a Thai language course, Hop Hop takes part in con dancing, and Sprig plays Sorry. The focus of this episode, however, is about Anne reconnecting with the Thai community and learning how they took care of her parents while she was gone.
They were worried about you and us. The community ran our stuff here and sent us the money, even help out at the restaurant, and never asked for anything in return.
That's really cool.
Then of course, since this is Amphibia, Andrea sends in an army of robot dragonflies, and everyone bands together to destroy them, where it is then that the planets are revealed to the Thai community, but they are cool with them.
Wow. Thanks, you guys. I don't even know what to say except Kapkun Ma ka. With all the massive changes, these episodes have a very different vibe from the rest of the show, without the giant carnivorous bugs and a significant decrease in jokes about death, which was kind of a letdown, though it's still unmistakably Amphibia with its detailed character exploration and sense of progression. A lot of new human characters are introduced in this season. I think of the new batch, everyone remembers Mr. and Mrs. Boonchoy. They get their own stories about bonding with the Planters, as well as many supporting roles. There are two moments I would like to talk about. The first is in season Season 3 Episode 3A's Thai Feud, where Sprig is trying to make Anne's mom like him so he can become a Boon Choi, much like how Anne became a planter. Meanwhile, the most loyal customer of the Boon Choi's restaurant, Ned, is trying to convince Anne's mom to share her recipes so he can sell them in his food truck, which is parked right outside of the restaurant.
Customers are very confused right now.
Huh? I don't, what do I do? What do I do?
Sprig sees getting rid of the truck as a surefire way to become a Boon Choi, so he steals it as you do. With faulty brakes, Anne and Sprig have to find a way to stop the truck, ending up at a skate park. Sprig apologizes for overstepping his boundaries as Mrs. Boon Choi scolds him for his reckless behavior, meaning he's now a family member.
Already having second thoughts about this.
The second is its sister episode, Season 3, Episode 3B, Adventures in Cat Sitting. After staying with the Boon Choi's for a week, Hop Hop starts believing they've become freeloaders, so they need to start pulling their way around the house. They volunteer to take the family cat Domino to the vet, only to end up losing her. Sprig tells Mr. Boon Choi, so now Hop Hop is in a race to find a cat before he gets there. They're successful in finding Domino, but Mr. Boon Choi has to swoop in and save them. As Hop Hop laments, they've been nothing but an inconvenience once more.
You three took my daughter into your home when she needed it most. You kept her fed and safe for 5 months just out of the kindness of your heart. You will never owe us anything. Ever.
Wow, I don't know what to say. Thank you.
After this, they're all one big family. But Anne has been keeping something a secret from her parents. What was it again? Oh yeah, the fact that there is a king in another world who wants to kill her! Ugh, how can you forget the classic teenage problems? The lies are shown in Season 3, Episode 5B, Anne's Terminator. Anne decides that she has to tell her parents the truth, only for them to get attacked by the same robot from the season premiere. The family escaping the car as it chases them throughout the city. Eventually, they make it to the junkyard and take cover. Anne's mom refuses to hear her out and says that she hasn't changed at all.
When are you going to grow up? When are you going to stop getting in trouble? When and when?
I don't know, okay?
Anne admits to her parents that she lied, but only to protect them and the people that she cares about. She asks them for help with what's been happening. The entire planter Boon Choi family work together to take down the robot, which includes revealing her powers and what's more, passing out on the car ride home. The planters try to explain as Mrs. Boon Choi tells them that whatever's going on, they're now all in it together. Horror! All of the chaos they caused today has unfortunately got them noticed by the FBI.
It's time to call Mr. X.
There are other storylines in the first half of the season. The show introduces one of my favorite characters in the entire show by going full 80s movie on our asses with the introduction of Mr. X, a smart and power-mad government official in the Heelys who sent Season 3A hunting down the planters after discovering their true identity, who was voiced by RuPaul.
Gotta go. Is your stun gun charged, Jenny? Tell me it's charged!
I feel like it was the right time to give our heroes another threat, since if it was just Andrea sending robots to kill Anne, then it would be pretty not that fulfilling or all that gravitating, because it will be the same thing over and over again. While the whole FBI grabbing strange creature thing is played out in 2021 when Mr. X was revealed and shown, it also meant that we got to see Anne's parents join the action, which is always a good thing. It also helps that he is yet another energetic and fun character who is always a joy to have on screen. Also, he is really relatable.
And they said I was a fool to not pay for ad-free streaming.
One thing I've been waiting for with the reveal of when Season 3 was, what were they gonna do with Frobo after he got destroyed in the finale? Well, my answer came in at Season 3, Episode 5A, Fixing Frobo. Polly starts studying robotics online so she can fix Frobo. She stumbles across a channel called the IT Gals run by girlfriends Allie and Jess. She follows their tutorial, but Frodo still isn't working. She gets on a video chat with the girls who tell her what she's missing, also warns her not to activate him right now. But Polly is too impatient and just wants her friend back. But when he's switched on, he's completely reset and has none of his personality or memories because he didn't have the factory defect that made Frobo. He takes off into the sky only for his thrusters to fail, and they start to fall. One of Polly's tears short-circuits Frobo, restoring his memories. He then once more sacrifices himself to save Polly from the impact.
You guys were right. I was so impatient with bringing him back to life that I killed him all over again.
Frobo's still alive, and Polly promises that she'll fix him properly no matter how long it takes. That's really about it when it comes to the human-related stuff in the first half of the season, but did y'all remember that there is this world called Amphibia?
It's actually called Amphibia.
And that there are other central characters there as well? So let's get into the story-driven episodes of Season 3A, starting with Season 3, Episode 2B, Turning Point. This episode follows Sasha and Grime and shows us one side of what happened after True Colors, but also having to do this thing that I thought was impossible: redeem Sasha and concluding her character journey. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit hesitant of what was gonna happen to Sasha. After it ended, I knew for a fact that this was one of the best episodes of the show by far. Following Marcy's injury and the planters being teleported away, Sasha and Grime escape the castle and return to Wartwood, telling the town's frogs they've been sent by Anne to protect them while she goes on a daring mission.
Why, that's wonderful. Rest easy tonight, folks, because Anne's best friend is here to watch over us.
They head to the planter's house, but Sasha can't bring herself to step inside, instead of heading for the barn. Sasha is currently dealing with a heap of self-loathing and guilt over everything she's done. They keep being bothered by the townsfrogs, giving them gifts and thanking them, which only continues Sasha's torment.
Any friend of Anne's is a friend of mine.
That's touching. Look, I gotta go.
Yes, she's taught me many lessons, showing me the importance of honesty, being true to yourself, the meaning of friendship.
Sasha and Grime discover that they were followed by one of Andreas' robots, which calls for backup. Grime wants to pack up and ditch Wartwood, but Sasha isn't so willing. Grime tells her she has to go into the house and confront whatever she's dealing with so they can move on. She heads down to the basement and finds Anne's diary, reading her entry following battle with the bands. She breaks out into tears, deciding that she is going to give up her controlling and manipulation. She gathers the town and admits that she lied about Anne sending her there, but promises to defend Wartwood.
I'm gonna do the right thing for once in my life. With my last breath, I'm gonna defend this town!
Sasha, Grime, and the residents of Wartwood work together to defeat the army of robots, and it ends with Sasha being accepted as one of the frogs, who tell her that she's more like Anne than she thinks.
So, what happens now?
We start fighting back.
Before this episode came out, I was very skeptical if they were gonna be able to make Sasha feel redeemed. It made it one that felt earned. But after this episode, I think they did it. From Barrel's Warhammer, we saw that she reflected on what she has done to everyone around her, with Anne and Marcy being the main example. At the end of this episode, it felt like she learned from what she has done, accepts responsibility for it, and wants to make it up later on in the season. This alone makes this episode one of my new favorites, as it turned a character I wasn't a fan of at the beginning to one I had positive thoughts for. But there is one more important episode to talk about in the first half of the season. I think I all know what episode it is. Season 3, Episode 7B, Olivia and Yunnan. I've said in my Season 2 video that Yunnan is one of my favorite characters in the entire show, but I only mentioned Lady Olivia once in the entire script. Olivia does have significance to the story, as she's in most of the Newtopia episodes and was a core member in True Colors, but we really didn't know much about her. She seems to be the castle caretaker, but also fills the role of the royal advisor, as she has no issue calling Andres out on his lack of decorum. Though that's all we know about her until this episode. The episode starts with a flashback from when Marcy came to Newtopia when Anne opens the portal. Olivia explains that she is a descendant of a long line of newts who dedicated themselves to care for nature, explaining this to Marcy, who promises to help her in whatever way she can. Olivia and Yunnan refuse to continue serving Andreas, but in order to have even a hope of taking him down, they need the one person who has ever been able to outsmart him, Marcy. They sneak past the robots and journey into the basement and have an encounter with the Moss Man, where we learn this little knowledge nugget.
More kooky creatures? What is this place?
I think it's where our ancestors kept all their otherworldly prisoners.
Delightful.
They make it to the chamber where Marcy is being held, as she is still alive, because after all this is a Disney show. But the walls have eyes, which sends out a smoke that is able to project their worst fears. Yunnan discovers they can make this stop by taking out the eyes. They smash all the eyes and are about to escape, only to be caught by Andreas.
Leaving so soon? But we have so much to discuss.
But how did you...
Simple. We've been watching you the whole time.
Way back during the first temple episode, at the end, Andreas is given a letter that they charged the first stone. The king heads down a hallway where we end up in a room we have never seen before.
The prophecy is being undone as we speak, my lord. Soon, we will have our revenge.
At the time, we didn't know who this person was until this episode. The thing grabs Marcy and puts her in a chair where she is locked in place. Andreas explains this thing is the core, an amalgamation of Amphibia's greatest minds uploaded to one system to achieve immortality. All that's missing is a host, and it'll only accept the smartest person in Amphibia. The episode ends on a moment that I will never forget and that will live rent-free in my brain.
Well, I suppose I should just let it speak for itself.
Why, hello there.
These two episodes are some of my favorite in the show. They are memorable and gives you a variety of feelings, from the warm fuzzies to suspense. But I think it's time we talk about the back half of the season, Season 3B. We start off the second half of the season with Season 3, Episode 10, Escape to Amphibia. The planters have befriended a scientist in one of the previous episodes who is named Terry. She explains that to get to Amphibia, they have to find the right tune, as music is the key to traveling between worlds, hence why it's a music box. They are able to create a portal to Amphibia, but the portal is very small, so they need more power. After a shopping trip, they are surrounded by Mr. X and the FBI, who capture the planters. The Boon Choice follow the FBI to find their secret base and realize that they are going to need help to get the planters back. So Anne calls on all of the human characters that she and the planters have had contact with throughout the first half of Season 3 to get them to join forces and get the planters out. Throughout this episode, Anne is having to struggle with the idea that she has to return to Amphibia, meaning saying goodbye to her parents, but her parents are there to help her.
You have grown so much. You're not my little girl anymore, Anne. You can do this.
And no matter where you go or what you're doing, we'll be with you the whole way, right here. I'm pointing to your heart in case you didn't get it.
I got it, Dad.
The sin awakens Anne's Sis Lord powers. As she and the gang grab the planters and steal government generators, but it isn't enough to make the portal big for them to get through. It is then that Mr. X and the FBI track them down and confront Anne, as Mr. X tells Anne that she is just a kid.
You're right, X. I am just a kid. But today reminded me that with the right people by my side, I can do anything!
What the? What are you?
Anne uses her calamity powers to make the portal big enough to get through and to lure the giant praying mantis to distract the FBI. It is then that we get this beautiful scene.
Anne, take care!
We love you!
The portal closes as Anne's parents force Mr. X to sit down and listen to them, and we end with the planters returning only to find their home destroyed as the once vibrant sky is now clouded with ash.
We're in the endgame now.
From here, this half of the season has three major goals. Prepare for the final battle against Andreas, bring back as many one-off characters from Season 1 and 2 as possible, and in between all of that, find a conclusion for everyone. In the next episode, Season 3, Episode 11A, Commander Anne and Sasha reunite. It allows us to see how much Sasha has grown since she decided to start a rebellion against King Andreas. While there are a few glimpses of the old Sasha here and there, I mean, let's be honest, she isn't going to be perfect overnight. She has changed for the better. We see throughout the episode that she wants to do things right and tries to make Anne the commander of the rebellion, as she still feels bad about what happened. Anne thinks that this is some kind of manipulation tactic and then asks why Sasha wants her to be commander.
Please, just take over! I can't! Why not? Because the last time I was in charge, I ruined our friendship!
Anne gets eaten so that Sasha can take control, but after they succeed, Sasha still wants to give Anne the helmet.
But after everything I did to you, I don't deserve it.
Sasha, not too long ago, you would have fought to keep the helmet. The fact that you don't want it now proves you've changed.
Yeah, maybe.
The episode ends with Sasha continuing to be the commander, with her and Anne being on good terms.
Listen, Anne, even though I'm calling the shots, I want you to know, this is a partnership.
Like Anne, it's remarkable how much Sasha has changed over the show, but considering where she started off from, her transformation may be even more impressive. I mean, way back in season 1, I could have never imagined myself caring about Sasha to the extent I did by the end, with the show making me do a full 180 on her, and I think it deserves all the praise. One thing these episodes don't let you forget is how close we are to the end, as this batch tends to come off as A Day at the Aquarium Part 2. Over these 7 episodes, a huge focus is on bringing back as many random one-off characters from the previous 2 seasons and give them a strong role in the plot. Some of these you will be expecting, like the Toad, since that was an obvious one, and the return of the new Tarantino was another predictable one since he made an impact on Anne's life. Then there are others you didn't expect in the first place. Back in season 2, there were these 2 Olm siblings that tried to kill Sprig and Polly. To the average viewer, they were a roadblock for our characters, but now you see that there are these incredibly sympathetic characters that are linked to Sasha's story and almost sacrificed their lives. Do you remember that mind control fungus that Hop Hop used in season 1? Yeah, they are now a part of the resistance, as we learned that Andreas is using the spores they released to control all the creatures that we have been facing throughout the second half of the series.
It utilizes some kind of weird mushroom enzyme.
Gee, wonder where I've heard that before.
I turned you into zombies one time.
It's kind of weird that almost every character from the past has gotten a redemption arc in the second half of the season. While this is a cool idea, I will say that it can lead to some pacing issues with what's going on, but I kind of got over it. I think it speaks to how well crafted the story of Amphibia was, that these seemingly random elements from one-off episodes would return in such a crucial way. Everything in the show was thought out to the most minor of details, and now after 50 episodes, we got to see all that hard work pay off. It isn't simply referencing older episodes for the sake of nostalgia, though these stories also serve to wrap up themes of the series that we didn't think would ever be addressed again. Remember in season 1 when the frogs were constantly facing opposition from the toads who ruled over the valley? Then after reunion, that storyline was for the most part dropped. Well, season 3, episode 13b, Grimes People, brings that storyline to an end. Sasha wants Beatrix and the toads to join the resistance, but she refuses to work with the frogs. Grime challenges her to a toad ritual of one-on-one combat, which she must accept, but says that she could choose her opponent and pick Sprig. So now Grime must trade Sprig for the fight, but their tumultuous history, to say the least, with each other constantly gets in the way.
You tried to kill my Hop Pop!
He was a political liability!
After a battle with some hyenas, yeah, that's a weird name to call them, Grime realizes he needs to stop trying to make Sprig fight like a toad and uses what he's good at. The two form a connection, and following some other stuff, Sprig is able to win by using a mix of frog and toad fighting styles, thus forming an alliance between the toads and frogs. Later on, when newts are added into the mix, we get to see them struggle to work together despite Anne's best efforts, until they realize they have to get over themselves and their biases if they want to take back the world. These reintroductions of classic characters make up about half of season 3B. The other is about giving us some final spotlights and send-offs for the residents of Wartwood, while they carry out various missions for the rebellion. Though, while they are all given moments to shine, I argue only one of these marks a defining conclusion to a character's arc, Toady. I mentioned Toady a few times in this retrospective. Throughout most of the show, he was the assistant to Mayor Toadstool, who was often used for the sake of comedy. That was until Battle of the Bands, which gave his character some context as we saw how his advice was able to get through to Sasha. In season 3, episode 12a, Sasha's Angels, we see how he has been struggling to adjust to the fact that they are in a war, as he doesn't want to be involved in the action and rather remain in his comfort zone. Despite Mrs. Croker's instance, he is capable of so much more. When their team is captured by a band of marauders led by Barry, another one-off villain from season 1, and Croker is taken out of commission, Toady must step up and get uncomfortable, leading the team on to victory and saving the day.
Impressive, Toady. I always knew you had it in you.
Not me.
You kidding? I'm still in shock.
There are two other storylines that we need to mention, as they are really where the show starts to ramp up towards the finale. The first one being season 3, episode 13a, Mother of Ohms. Back in the first half of the season, when we were in the human world, Anne found a vase at the museum that depicts an amphibian with the music box. With the help of the eccentric curator, Dr. Jan, they discover some hidden texts.
It says, "Seek the Mother of Ohms. She will guide you to your destiny." That doing anything for anyone?
Not especially.
No siree.
In this episode, we meet the mother of Alms, and after a bizarre adventure featuring old people being old people and kids traveling into a body with some classic gross out, she tells our heroes of an ancient prophecy.
3 stars burning bright, come from beyond to expel the night. Should they fight or embrace the fall, their choice will determine the fate of all.
It would be a while before we learn anything more about this, so the final standard episode I'm going to be talking about is Season 3, Episode 14b, The Core and the King. We now get a follow-up on the Core and Marcy, or as she likes to be called, Darcy. Here we gain a full perspective on how disturbing this whole thing really is. The creature has gone through Marcy's memories and cherry-picked aspects of her personality and quirks to key. This creates a very unsettling and uncanny feeling whenever they're on screen, as this thing may look, sound, and sometimes even act like Marcy, but in reality, we're watching this collection of diabolical minds control the body of a child in this grotesque puppet show. But this isn't the focus of the episode. The episode is mostly told in a flashback. We see a younger Andreas and his 2 best friends, a toad named Beryl and a frog named Leaf. We also meet Aldridge. You know, that boss in Dark Souls? Aldridge, Devourer of God? No? Okay. A withering but cruel newt who is preparing Andreas to take his place by putting him in charge of their next invasion of Earth. While the trio of friends are messing around, the music box gives Leaf a vision of the future, warning that if they don't stop using the box, it will lead to the destruction of their world. But the king refuses to listen, as even Leaf's best friend is starting to turn on her. Seeing no other way, she steals the music box, setting the events of the entire series into motion, as then Andreas sends away his only remaining friend, thus dividing the frogs, newts, and toads in the present day. We can clearly see that Andreas is in turmoil, as he doesn't want to do this to Marcy, but must follow the core and what it demands of him.
Who's ready to finally start invading Earth?
Ready? After 1,000 years, I've thought of nothing else.
Why, son, I think I'm almost proud of you.
There is one more thing that needs to be mentioned before we talk about the finale. At the very end of Season 3, Episode 15a, the planters discover a hidden room under their house that belonged to Leaf, as she was the first ever planter. On the desk is a letter, which seems to be blank, but in the Core and the King, we learned Leaf and Andreas had begun writing hidden messages to each other, meaning this letter contained Leaf's final message for him. At the end of the episode, Spring puts it in his pocket, meaning it would no doubt play a role in the finale. But now, we can talk about the end of Amphibia. This finale is split up into 3 parts. They make up a conclusion that is around 90 minutes in length. Amphibia was ending with a feature-length celebration of the show, which is exactly what it deserved. We begin in Season 3, Episode 16b, the beginning of the end. We started off with a flashback to when the 3 friends were having a sleepover, and Marcy really wants to show them a movie she loves, but the girls fall asleep. We return to the present day, where we learn that Andreas is planning to invade Earth by nightfall. The resistance makes its move, while the frogs, newts, and toads fight the robots on the ground, and the planters, Sasha and Grimes, sneak into the castle to rescue Marcy. Meanwhile, Anne and Sasha have a discussion about everything that's happened, and if they can even forgive Marcy for stranding them in the first place.
We've all made mistakes, Sasha. And besides, maybe we're partially to blame. Excuse me? Remember that movie she used to make us watch? War of the Warlocks? And how we'd always fall asleep? It was a 3-hour movie. It wasn't just that movie, though. We ignored all her interests. We might have ignored her needs, too. Maybe that's why she went behind our backs with this crazy plan.
This is something I relate to so much in my life. I have personally felt many times that I was an afterthought, more times than I can count. Even after me and my friends have a nice conversation, I always wonder if I was annoying them too much, or if I brought anything to the conversation, or if I was as worthless as a cam during that time. So naturally, seeing Anne realize how they've treated Marcy, even unintentionally, made me very emotional.
I'm just supposed to forgive her? Like it's easy? It's not easy. Forgiveness is hard, and it can take time. But believe me, it's worth it. I mean, just look at what you and I have now.
Anne and Sasha team up to perform a routine from Super Dance Fusions so they could save Olivia and Yunnan from the mind control colors. Everyone heads to get Marcy, only to be captured and introduced to the core, which starts using Marcy's memories to get inside Anne and Sasha's head. It tries to kill Anne to return the power to the stone, while Anne realizes that it knows just as little about the gems as they do and uses this to outsmart them. They're all taken away as Andreas uses the box to open a portal to Earth. The invasion has begun. This leads directly into the second and biggest part of the finale, All In, which at a shockingly 48 minutes is the longest episode of the entire show. The episode begins with a flashback to a day before Anne's birthday, as the girls once again get into trouble. But when it's Anne's turn, the principal says that she's worried about her.
In you, I see someone who's just floating through life, taking the easy path.
But I like the easy path. It's easy.
She wants Anne to write an essay about the person that she wants to be, since that is what this episode sets out to do. After 3 seasons of watching her struggle, adapt, grow consistently, bettering herself and those around her, it's finally time for the show to make a definitive statement about who Anne is. Everyone escapes the castle while the invasion is already in full swing, as Andreas unleashes some heroines on the city.
Those aren't just any giant herons. Those are the giant herons.
You mean those two
attacked our parents?
This is insanely clever, as they reintroduce this narrative in the finale to give Sprig, Polly, and Hop Hop a sense of closure. Mr. X and Anne's parents, as they are all working together, they decide to turn the girls' school into their base of operations, as Polly uses the robotics lab to finish fixing Frobo with a new paint job and all. The girls go to Anne's locker, where they find a blank essay. Sasha is worried about if they can even do this, since Darcy knows their every move.
Darcy only knows the old us, which means she has no idea what we're capable of. It's not who we were that matters, Sash. It's who we are now that counts. Hang on, Marcy. We'll get you out of there.
Meanwhile, Marcy's mind is invited to be assimilated into the core in order to tempt her. The core tries to give her everything her heart desires, an exciting fantasy world to explore, and friends who only want what she wants. Our heroes launch an assault on the invasion, but the frogs freeze when they see the heroines as their trauma leaves them paralyzed with fear. Frobo gets them to safety, then the heroines attack the Boonchoys, causing the frogs to leap into action.
If you think we're gonna sit here for another second,
while you try to take away the only family we have left,
you've got another thing coming!
The planters defeat the heroines and tame them using the Planter Family Hunting Dance, which was created by Leaf and first introduced in Season 2, Episode 2B. While this has been going on, Sasha, Grime, Olivia, and Yunnan infiltrate the castle once more, while Yunnan and Olivia fight the robots. Sasha and Grime take Darcy head on during the fight. Sasha is injured as Darcy goes to strike her down, and then...
Sasha!
Grime was another character who I could have never thought I would care about when the show began, and yet there I was, flabbergasted when I thought this guy was going to die. If that doesn't tell you the power of Amphibia's writing and character development, then I don't know what would.
Before I met you, I was nothing, just a bully in a tower. But you inspired me to be so much more, and if you can do that, you can do anything. You can do this.
A rage-fueled Sasha charges at Darcy effortlessly, slicing through all their attacks. The core uses the projections from Olivia and Yunnan to distract Sasha long enough to take her down. Inside the core, Marcy is able to see through the lies and understand that despite how messy her reality is, she can't keep running away from it and has to face the truth.
The real Anne and Sasha don't want what I want, and it hurts. But forcing them to follow my dreams is wrong. I've learned that the hard way.
She rejects the core and is left in endless darkness, with the only fading light coming from her friends. Andreas drops down from the castle and challenges Anne to a one-on-one battle, where the fate of both Amphibia and Earth hangs in the balance. Her family begs her not to go, as it's so obviously a trap, while Anne pulls out the essay.
You know, before I ended up in Amphibia, I didn't care about right or wrong. I just did what was easy. I let people walk all over me. And I think that's because I didn't love myself. Not really. But meeting you three has changed all of that. And these months we've spent together have shown me the person I really want to be. Trap or not, I have to do this.
They start the fight where Andreas just completely wipes the floor with her. With Mr. X's help, the family sends a message to Anne, who, with the power of love and K-pop on her side, powers up once more and starts beating Andreas senselessly. Just as she's about to win, her power runs out, as it all seems to be over. Mr. X discovers the paper Sprig has been carrying is a letter to Andreas. So the tiny frog takes X's glasses and uses the heroines to fly up to Andreas so he can read the message to him. Through flashbacks, we see Leaf return from leaving the box on Earth, building the planter home, and starting a family. But throughout all that, she still felt love for her dear friend Andreas.
So I'm begging you, my dearest friend, don't close yourself off. Open your heart and follow it.
All this time, I thought you had forgotten me, like I tried to forget you. My dear friend.
Andreas begins to sob at how far he's fallen, and that it's too late to save him. In the castle, Darcy is about to kill Sasha when they're distracted by Andreas' meltdown.
Hey, Sasha, as a fellow control freak, you'll probably really appreciate this!
Graham kicks Sasha's sword over to her as she finds the strength to once again get back up.
I'm not done yet. I'll never give up, no matter what.
I am not that person anymore.
Sasha severs Darcy's connection to the core, causing it to shut down and release Marcy, but Sasha can't get her to wake up. Once she has her powers back, Anne flies straight through Andreas, who, with Leaf in his thoughts, accepts his fate.
You won, Anne! You did it! You won!
No, Sprig. We won. Andreas? What?
It turns out that Andreas is part robot. In order to cling to life, he's been making himself more and more machine, to a point where he's now more android than Andreas. What makes this moment work is that Andreas isn't redeemed by doing this. After everything that he has done, he can't be redeemed. What twists the knife is that he knows this very well. In his defeat, there's only one thing he's concerned with.
Marcy, you must save Marcy.
Earlier in this episode, we saw in a flashback how Marcy brought the spark back into Andreas' life and how he did truly care for her. The sad part is, the moments where he is a little goofy and happy are not fake, like I thought it was. They were real. He was happy when Marcy was in his life, and it makes it all sadder to think about.
Please, come back to us.
Sasha?
Marcy?
Marcy awakens and Grime is alive. Everyone gathers for a group hug, but the core is still alive. They return to Amphibia where they announce victory and everyone celebrates.
Hey, is it just me? Or is the moon getting closer?
What's going on?
Now it is time to talk about the episode I probably love the most, The Hardest Thing. We see the core fly up to the moon, taking it over and sending it towards the planet's surface as its final gambit.
I've been in that thing's head. I know that more than anything, it's afraid of being destroyed, of being irrelevant. It will do whatever it takes to defeat us and claim the stones as its own. If that means destroying an entire civilization, and so be it.
Mother Ohm appears and tells them the prophecy has come to pass. Well, it's not exactly a prophecy, and more so a call for help, and in order to save the world, the girls will have to tap into the energy of the stones, meaning there won't be enough left to get home, so they can either stay and fight, or embrace the fall of Amphibia by returning to Earth. They decide to save the world and run to the music box, only for Mother Ohm to hold Anne back to tell her about the secret spell.
Well, the stones are rumored to hold a hidden power, enough to defeat any foe. But summoning such power
comes at a price.
The life of the user.
Anne makes it to the throne room, only to find Valerina, who tells them to focus on their memories of Amphibia and how much it means to them, thus connecting them to the stones once again, and revealing their final forms. The Calamity Trio takes off and begins to battle the core with their new powers as an epic rendition of No Big Deal plays in the background. On Amphibia, the core asks for Andreas' help, promising that afterwards he could join them. Andreas deploys his army of robots so they can help the girls push the moon back, and Andreas then takes his crown and begins to destroy it, echoing the exact words that are used against Sasha in Reunion.
Something I should have done a long time ago. Standing up to you!
but it's still not enough, and to make matters worse, Sasha and Marcy's powers are fading. Seeing no other option, Anne decides to call upon the secret spell.
Our whole lives, I've followed you two. Counted on you. Trusted you. Now it's your turn to follow my lead. Please, let me do this.
Anne, but...
Sasha and Marcy hand over their stones, and with one final hug, Anne sends them back to the planter. The planters run up to them as they explain what Anne's doing. Sprig refuses to let her and orders Frobo to climb up there, while Anne gets ready to use the spell.
Mother Olm said all I had to do was ask, so I'm asking. Can you help me save the world I love?
The spell is activated and completely takes over Anne's body.
Please don't do this! Don't go! I don't know what I'll do without you! You're my everything! You changed my life!
And you've changed mine.
Sprig lets Anne go, as she destroys the core and herself in the process. Once it's done, Sprig brings her back down to everyone.
Don't cry, Sprig. It's okay. Saving this world was the best decision I've ever made. My only regret is that I never got to see Lovejoy's too.
Anne fades away, only to appear in some other world in front of a house. She finds an old computer who turns out to be the guardian of the 3 stones. It then transforms into Domino, which was foreshadowed all the way back in Season 3, Episode 3B.
Listen, Domino is not just a cat. She's the Alpha and Omega, an interdimensional being beyond all time and space.
Whoa, what's that now?
Do me next! Do me next!
We learned that the Guardian made an after copy of Anne right before she died. It wants to offer Anne the job of its replacement, making her a god, as she is the first person in 10,000 years to use the power of the stones for good. But Anne decides to pass.
Sorry, dude. You seem cool, but I'm just a 13-year-old kid. For every heroic sacrifice, I make 100 dumb mistakes. I'd probably blow up the multiverse if you put me in charge.
The Guardian agrees to let Anne return to the world of the living so she can keep growing. Well, there being one more final morbid joke.
I've waited thousands of years to retire. What's 78 years more?
Wait, are you saying that in 78 years I'm gonna...
Anne makes it back as everyone finds out she's alive, and I gotta play this scene as the music is really good and sets in the emotion.
Hey, dude! Oh. What'd I miss?
As a no longer departing gift, the Guardian bestows Anne with shards from the stones, good for one-way travel only, so it's time to say goodbye. Starting with Marcy saying goodbye to Olivia, Yunnan, and Andreas.
I came to this world thinking only of myself. It was wrong of me, and I wish I'd gotten to know you both better.
I think we all have a lot to learn, Master Marcy.
Goodbye, Andreas.
Take care, kiddo.
The fact that Andreas is looking away because of what he has done made it feel more emotional. Then it's Sasha and Grime, and finally Anne saying goodbye to the planters.
Goodbye, HP. Thanks for taking me in. I'm so lucky to call myself a planter.
I'm the lucky one, Anne. I'm so blessed to have a granddaughter like you.
Then it was time for Anne and Sprig to say goodbye, and I was tearing up hard at this scene.
Nothing will ever change how much you mean to me. Not time or space or being worlds apart.
Spran against the world?
Spran against the world.
Anne then gives Sprig her phone, but with that, they have to go. The girls walk up to the portal and take a final bow before stepping through, but Anne is held back a moment longer. Anne then goes through the portal for it to then disappear, and the music box to vanish. The war is over. It is time to rebuild a new world. That is what we see in the next 9 months. Because 9 months later, the land returns to its former beauty, as we see Andreas helping repair the damage he caused while in chains. We can also see that his sight is fading as he refuses any further operation. Over in Wartwood, Wally exits Stumpy's just like in the plot, as we see an older Polly with legs, hair, and everything. Olivia, Yunnan, and Grime come in on Joe Sparrow and are greeted by Toadie, who won the election. We then see that Olivia x Yunnan is canon, and I love it.
I know, sweetheart. We all know.
Hop Pop has made a living selling California avocado. Rick is in the basement drawing the Moss Man when he goes up for the ceremony, where they reveal a statue of Anne. Ivy joins Spriggs, telling him that there is a new continent as she and Spriggs rough off on a new adventure.
I'm in.
We jump ahead 10 years later in the human world. Sasha picks up Marcy at the airport. Marcy has been working on a successful webcomic, and Sasha has become a child psychiatrist. It is also stated that Anne and Sasha began to drift apart and went in different friend groups, which is something I can believe. In her 20s, Anne has become a hermatologist, working on the amphibian exhibit at the local aquarium, which she has fully decked out with a bunch of theming inspired by her second home. Kinda crazy to think this story started out with her being disguised by frogs, but hey.
Change can be difficult, but it's how we grow. But of the things you let go, you'd be surprised what makes its way back to you.
And that was all 3 seasons of Amphibia. I overall had a really fun time with this show, with episodes that have been stuck in my head for years on end, and characters that I still love with messages that resonate with me. Objectively, this show isn't as consistent as Owl House or Gravity Falls, but I would say the highs of Amphibia are as high as those shows, or even higher for me, which is something I never thought would happen. In recent years, I have seen a lot of hate being thrown towards this show, which has been sad to see unfold, all because one guy posted a tweet saying that the fight against Anne and Andreas in season 2 is one of his favorite moments in animated TV history. I know I can't really change everyone's opinions on this show, but all I will say is this. Amphibia is something that I will never forget anytime soon. It is a show that has impacted me as much as other media that I have experienced, while also having some of my favorite characters in a show, jokes that land harder than they should, and most importantly, it had heart. It had the heart to tell a story about change and learning to accept that, which is something I think everyone could take away from it. And at the end of the day, what more do you need? I hope you all enjoyed this look through of Amphibia and were able to take something away from the show or these videos. And as always, have a nice day.